Yes, yes, guys, we're back. Nuclear reaction faction. We will get through this video eventually. It's Chris Chan's horrifying history. There's just so much to commentate on because he's such an enigma. But yeah, go check out the full video on Turkey Tom's channel. I'll link it in the description. Let's get popping.
Something about your life instead of bitch and draw comics about it. Chris, you've got a way to fall, but you can change that. This didn't even get a reply from Chris, so you can imagine how successful an attempt to help him this was. Later on in the month, Chris goes back and forth between dating Blanca and a new troll account called Panda, and more images come out. This time of Chris making sweet love to his Officer Nasty doll. The Skype conversation of his with Panda, where they discuss sex, was also leaked at this time. From it, we can glean that Chris believes that men have a limited amount of semen, which Chris refers to as comeuppance.
Wait, come up is... Oh, okay, because come up... what the hell, man? What is going through this geezer's head? I don't understand.
Same way women have a limited amount of eggs. At this point, Chris was well aware that everything he told anyone always ended up on ED, but since he wanted to keep lying to himself and pretending Blanca and Panda were real girls and not trolls, he started pretending everything was due to him being hacked. Early on in October, the trolls got him to mail her a Sonichu medallion along with a heartfelt letter. After receiving the package on October 9th, it was instantly leaked online, prompting Chris to make a video doing damage control, saying that Blanca wasn't the one behind this, but random trolls that lived in her area and intercepted the package. He also lied about having gotten the medallion back to make himself look like less of a loser. This lie is dispelled on October 20th when a video is uploaded of the trolls cutting the medallion up, putting it in a pickle jar, beating it with a hammer, and finally burning it all together.
No. I bet Chris was distraught.
Blanca broke up with Chris, supposedly over the photo.
Wait, whoa. What have we got here? What have we got here? Is that... That's not a bra. Surely not. That's too big to be a bra, isn't it?
Wearing his mom's underwear that the pickle man tricked him into taking. The same day, he releases an update declaration that he has reached his lowest low. A few days later, he was pushed into doing a Q&A with the people from his IRC chat in an attempt to get him in better spirits, though this wasn't very effective. After years of claiming to be lonely, depressed, upset, and a heap of other negative emotions, this is the first time Chris genuinely seemed completely despondent, without the motivation to keep up his regular spiel. The only mention-worthy thing from the Q&A is that he pretends he's met a girl in real life, claiming he's kissed her and lost his virginity to her. He quickly forgot he told this lie.
I don't believe that.
And resumed his lamentations over the loss of Blanca, while Vivian Guy was still trying in vain to prove to him that she wasn't another troll. The next 2 months are notably uneventful compared to the rest of the year. Other than a few Q&As in his IRC chat and some conversations with Panda, right near the year's end, we have the founding of 2 online forums, the Sonichu Girls Fan Club and Gays for Sonichu. It would still be a while before he said anything about the latter, but just days after Sonichu Girls popped up, Chris was already posting on it himself, introducing himself, and once again, reigniting his sweetheart search. His introductory post read, "Yes, it's your man of the way more than an hour. I've read my accent/voice was a favorited feature. Blush. I've rarely thought my voice was that alluring, although in my honest opinion, it sounds like a direct match to Sonic the Hedgehog."
No, it sounds more like... I want to be careful what I say. You sound like a radio operator from World War II with like some sort of degenerative brain disease.
Anywhere from the classic and Sonic X shows and all games, starting from Sonic Adventure, and when singing, I can have a Frank Sinatra or Bing Crosby flavor. Yeah, honestly, I honestly don't even disagree. Honestly, I don't know why I'm still single either. Even my own mother finds me handsome. Oh, no. Aside from the understood fact.
Oh, no, I just realized. Oh, no, where this story, where it leads.
I'm truly in touch with my feminine side, to the point where I am capable of learning from that to better understand how to treat women in a caring, nurturing, positive way. Sometimes I wonder, between my caring attitude and the lack of a sweetheart, if I was born the wrong gender. I would wonder what life would have been like if I'd actually been born a girl. But afterwards, I'd realize that I should still appreciate being born a boy to gentlemen. God gave me the package and I signed for it. And while it is true, and I am not ashamed to admit it, that I've seen my fair share of I have learned how to better, positively treat a woman before, during and after the act. I would definitely stay.
But you haven't done the act. How do you know? I don't understand. Also, like, I'm pretty sure he's displayed some homophobic behavior, and so him transitioning, isn't that a little bit like ironic and hypocritical. I don't know.
Until she woke up, and I would call her back later to see how her day was. And I would have put the seat up, then back down when I used the restroom she would use later. I care more about every woman's feelings and opinions over their body. On the flip side, I feel discomfort around men because they can be such mean and cruel jerks.
Wait, no, that's not true what he just said, because that lass who was like friends with him, he kept groping her even though she kept telling him not to. So like he obviously didn't care about her feelings much, because she kept repeatedly telling him, don't touch me, I don't like it, get your hands off me, and he kept doing it to the point of assault. So like he's chatting bungle, mate. Like, what you on about, bro?
I should go on with what I detest about them, but I will not stoop to their level of cruelty. Also, I feel discomfort when shopping for underwear for myself. They do not need models pictured on the package. It grosses me out to see that thing. It's bad enough that I sometimes see my own when I look down, of which I don't feel as much discomfort, but the very sight of others is like kryptonite to me. It makes me feel like throwing up even when the image randomly pops up in my head.
That sounds what's so scary about seeing a geezer in boxers on a pair of boxer short flipping packaging? Like, I don't understand. Like, I think maybe he's closeted or something like that, and he just doesn't know how to deal with that fact.
The amount of foreshadowing is tremendous, but the lack of self-awareness manages to be even more fantastic.
I'll tell you what, his boobs ain't as big as I thought they would be. I'll give him that.
Genuinely believes that the Sonichu Girls forum popped up organically, and beyond that there's a worldwide fan base out there somewhere. At this point, Chris Chan's popularity had significantly died down, and with it, a lot more disorganized trolls appeared. The only people left behind were stragglers interested in where this story would go next, and dedicated trolls who saw Chris's full potential and weren't keen on letting him slip away anytime soon. 2009 held exponentially worse things for Chris. The year started out slow, with Chris doing very little besides continuing his work on new Sonichu episodes and his correspondence with the Sonichu Girls on IRC, which in reality consisted of multiple male trolls actively participating in group sexting a severely autistic man in his late 20s. Honestly,
no.
the lengths people will go to do it for the Vine are astounding.
No, okay, so there's a number of issues with that I have. Yeah, one, like, you're taking the trolling too far. Two, you're like, I don't even know, two's enough. Two, you're like, you do realize that as you're like sexting and role playing with him, he's stroking himself off to it. So, you know, like, you literally had sexual relations with Chris. So how do you feel about that?
And sometimes funny and sometimes pathetic. On the 5th of January, Chris is contacted via emails by none other than Shigeru Miyamoto, the game director behind most of Nintendo's biggest franchises. The troll behind this particular interaction was Clyde Cash, who later became the central troll in the Quickie saga, at least for a period.
He does look like a troll, you've got to admit. He looks like that geezer who did that revenge porn site.
Chris fell for the Shigeru bit, especially since a few days prior to this email, Clyde was already preparing the groundwork for it, emailing Chris as Takashi Tezuka, the general producer for Animal Crossing, acting as if he wanted to feature Sonichu in the next game. The day after,
am I right in saying that guy before was like part of the head team of Pokemon? I'm pretty sure.
After the Shigeru email, Chris was already announcing that Sonichu and Rosachu would be in Animal Crossing. Clyde was multitasking the trolling of Chris, simultaneously posing as multiple different characters. After establishing the connection with Nintendo, he began emailing Chris as Greg Mays, posing as another Nintendo employee that was in charge of updating the Sonichu website with an appropriate redesign to market Sonichu for Animal Crossing. By doing this, he finessed the admin password for Chris's site, promptly logged into it, changed the password, and locked Chris out.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Sonichu fan base, unfortunately, due to a troll having found access to the database behind Sonichu.net,
Can you see what I mean? He sounds like a radio operator from World War II who's like really, really drunk or something like that, who's on opium.
It's shut down, and I cannot change the password at the moment. Greg Mays, if you do not re-upload Sonichu.net back to the way it was before you even started, I will come down at you. And my lawyer man from Nintendo, Jay-Z, he gonna come down with his boys from Nintendo and the boys at Sega. They're gonna track you down.
His next email to Chris read as follows. It is I, Jason Hendrick Howell. If you ever want to see your beloved site restored, you must meet my demands. If you ever wish for me to hand over your beloved website, you must announce your homosexuality to YouTube. You must not reveal that I told you to do this. Otherwise, you will never see your site restored. You must detail how you've been kept in the closet for so long, your search for a sweetheart as a cover-up, and why Sonichu is so gay. You must be angry. Of course, you could always make a video proclaiming how straight you are. Either choice, gay or straight, which will it be? Chris quickly obliged.
I, Kristen Chandler, am straight.
Whoa,
Don't you forget it.
But this
dread
didn't
to think what's
satisfy
on
Clyde's
that.
demands for a longer video, wherein he explained why he was straight and totally not gay. Chris once again obliged.
So I tell you for sure and for true that I am straight. I can tell you why from my lifetime stories, but I'll tell it to you in just a few short minutes.
Bro, I feel like I'm gonna have a seizure whenever he's talking. Do you know what's surprising? He actually types really well. Like, you'd never guess they were the same person. Like, the way he types is actually quite fluent, and he's got a good vocabulary and everything. Like, it's good, but the way he talks just, oh man, it gives me a headache.
Anyway, right. So, Christian Weston Chandler, I am straight.
Yeah, convince yourself that, mate.
After this, Clyde's next request is for Chris to upload a short video where he and his parents go over his accomplishments in life. That video would never be made. Instead, Chris's next upload was him denouncing the ED page and 4chan once again, though what led him to rekindle this beef is unknown. This lack of compliance with Clyde led to the site being hacked once again, and in email, he admits to Chris he isn't Jason Howell, the creator of the ED page. Chris doesn't even quite absorb this information, replying with threats instead about involving the police in the situation and praying to God and Jesus for Clyde's death, while Chris continues to refer to him as Jason. This led into a voicemail Chris left for the real Jason, who had no idea what was going on or why he was receiving it.
First saved message. Jason Kendrick Howe, you
Ow.
bastard. Bastard. You hacked into everything.
Oh, that's giving my ears AIDS.
You have driven me so beyond the wall I can't even describe it. You love me now, but I pray you.
What the?
Goodbye.
This would do nothing to stop all of Sonichu's web presence, along with Chris's personal accounts, from being constantly hacked and vandalized in all sorts of ways.
Dude, get a password manager. Flipping hell. Like, or just use a password other than your name with 123 at the end.
Because of this, he ceased communications with the Sonichu girls, unknowingly ending their cryptic troll campaign. However, he only did this after sending all of them locks of his hair in plastic packets, along with certificates of authenticity. You know, just in case someone tries to make fake quickie hair packets to sell on eBay.
Someone will buy that. That's the funny thing about it.
He had to make sure people knew these were the real deal. In the meantime, over at the Shigeru email situation, because of all the hackings, Chris's identity came into question, and to prove that it was actually him and not a troll, he made a video addressing Miyamoto and showing his driver's license on camera. Chris also made another update to declare that he continues to be straight as an arrow, despite what his more recent outgoing emails may claim. In order to prove his straightness, he claims to have a subscription to Playboy and stomps on the dildo he got from Adam and Eve. A couple of days
What? He just exposed himself. Like, to prove he's straight, he whips out a dildo.
later in his IRC chat, when Clyde accuses him of wearing
No. Okay, yeah, let's go. Let's move on
women's
from
underwear, which Chris did do at least once. Chris
that. He's got his own training, bro.
inexplicably decides to reveal the fact that he has, and I quote, numbers of pairs of dirty, crapped briefs. Amidst
What?
his claims to loathe penises and love boobs and vaginas, Chris also claims that at those times it mostly slipped out without my knowledge, in reference to his bowel movements. During this time, Chris hardly did anything besides staying in those IRC chats, interacting almost exclusively with trolls to a masochistic degree. Though a lot of it isn't worth getting into, as it's mostly just Chris voluntarily exposing himself to verbal abuse. At one point, Clyde and Panda, Chris's quote-unquote girlfriend at the time, cooperate to say that Clyde has raped Panda and that she's expecting a child. I would say
Whoa. Okay, trolls, man. Come on, man. Like, usually, like, I'm really, like, against major trolling, but, like, the fact that he did what he did with his mum or his nan or whoever it was, like, it was either his grandma or his mum, but, like, oh, she's got dementia and oh, man, so, you know, like, the trolls, man, like, you know, like, I don't blame you. I do not blame
it's
you.
cruel if Chris hadn't flashed.
Just don't go and troll him because of this video, yeah, because, like, I really am not a fan of trolling, but you can see, like, some people it's more understandable, but at the same time, like, he's a vulnerable adult, so like it's still a bit iffy in my eyes. But now that he's done the deed with his flipping family, I think like all bets are off for most people. Like, I'm not gonna troll him, but you know, whatever.
But ignored multiple people that told him Panda was a malicious troll because he'd rather believe he had a girlfriend. If their objective was to freak Chris out, they didn't quite accomplish the goal because he reacted nonchalantly, even suggesting she should move in with Clyde since the child was going to need a father, going as far as to say Clyde had proven himself to be a good man after repenting for hacking the Sonashoe site and being willing to let Panda and the child move into his house. I can barely believe the words coming out of my mouth right.
Did he just basically say that it's okay he R-worded someone because he got his website back up and was willing to, it's not funny, but was willing to like let the kid move in? Like, what?
Chris hadn't flat out ignored multiple people that told him Panda was a malicious troll because he'd rather believe he had a girlfriend. If their objective was to freak Chris out, they didn't quite accomplish the goal because he reacted nonchalantly, even suggesting she should move in with Clyde since the child was going to need a father, going as far as to say Clyde had proven himself to be a good man after repenting for hacking the Sonashoe site and being willing to let Panda and the child move into his house.
That just goes to show how narcissistic he is, really.
I can barely believe the words coming out of my mouth right now. For the majority of January, Chris fluctuated between wholeheartedly believing that Nintendo representatives were in direct contact with him and trying to set up a meeting, and being dubious of the whole thing and just admitting that the emails were once again the work of trolls. On the 22nd, Chris claimed to leave Washington for the meeting, and after that, he spent a few days offline, which caused people to wonder if he managed to convince his parents to let him go there. 5 days later, he came back with another upload talking about how he'd spent the past few days with Shigeru Miyamoto, which confirmed that Chris had just been lying. Soon after, he admits to Clyde over emails that this video was a lie, and later on, makes this same admission publicly in a new video. In it, he blames the deal falling apart on Reggie Fils-Aimé having an issue with a panty shot in Chris's PowerPoint presentation he made to push Sonashoe, even implying that this meant Reggie was in some way opposed to heterosexuality. He also makes several references to seeing them in court, as if that was a remote possibility, though it was probably Chris's wishful thinking at work, trying to make himself seem important enough to warrant lawsuits from the top brass at Nintendo. A day later, Chris took the video down, retracting his statements and apologizing for this behavior, which I can only assume was some attempt to get back on Reggie and Shigeru's good graces. In a recorded conversation Chris had the same day, he mentions he often ponders what his life would look like if he was born a woman, saying that it would at least be better than his life was right now. It's during this time that another troll enters the fold, Blue Spike, a 13-year-old boy who used his high-pitched voice to pretend he was a girl called Julie, and this is possibly the most disturbing and horrible chapter of Christery, at least early on. While Clyde Cash stuck to tricking Chris into admitting he was gay, which is relatively harmless, Blue Spike went much further. Initially, the Julie LARP consisted of nothing but acting as a potential sweetheart. By the 13th of February, an audio had surfaced of Chris and Julie having what can only be described as furry phone sex.
No. One, how is this kid, like, at such a young age, that dedicated to, like, the troll, the grift, yeah? And oh, just no.
Chris is Sonashoe, and Julie is a cat. I won't play the audio to spare you the psychological scarring that inevitably comes from it.
I feel like crying.
Sonashoe, Chris electrocutes Julie's genitals, seems to have a lactation fetish, and can be heard manipulating a plastic cup at the end of this hellish event. What's the plastic cup for, you might ask? Well, later on, Chris explains quite explicitly. I don't like to make a mess, so when I come, I have a clean plastic cup by my side, and I just make sure to put all of my semen in the cup there.
Why would you put it in a receptacle unless you're going to do something with it afterwards?
After recycle, I rinse the cup and dispose of it. I recycle my own semen because, you know, yes, I do masturbate. I'm not ashamed to admit it, as a lot of guys, I'm sure, have done the same thing in their time. Anyway, I recycle it, so that way I won't lose any unborn children. Then I can still have a good number of good semen counts. Maintain that by recycling it.
Is he talking about... I feel sick. Is he talking about drinking it?
Though personally, I've been getting sick of swallowing my own, so lately I've been disposing of them. Where to begin? So Chris spends 20 minutes masturbating while in character as Sonashoe, having phones
with a flip. Oh,
so the 13-year-old boy pretending to be an adult woman, pretending to be a cat furry. Just a few days later, it happened again, and this time, Blue Spike would notify other trolls that he'd be engaging in cyber sex with Chris, and they took this opportunity to make 4 calls with Bob, asking about Chris to try and cause Bob to walk in on it.
What are you doing?
Oh no.
Give me that crap. Now, what's going on?
Dad, will you get out of here?
No, I will not. People telling me that you're about to kill yourself on YouTube.
What?
What are you doing? I'm not doing anything. I'm going to wake your mother up and find out? No. Well, then get out of here, off that internet. Fine. What is your trouble? I'm not going to kill myself.
See, this is one of the reasons I don't really like people trolling people like Chris, because can you hear how he's being he's got the mind of a child, and he's being treated like a child by his parents. He's reacting like a child. He sounds like a child. Like, so why, like one day, like, what if he like ends up topping himself? Like, how many of the trolls are actually going to care, like, and feel responsible? I don't know.
Get away from that TV. Fine. Get away from the internet. I'm cutting it down right now. No! Dad, no! Yes. No! What are you doing? Don't do it, Dad. I'm going to shut this thing right down. No. Yes. No. Dad, no. Stop. Go wake your mother up. Don't bother me. Okay? Go wake your mother up. Don't bother me. Go and wake your mother up. You tell her what's going on. This thing is going to go down. No. Yes.
While initially this wouldn't succeed, the trolls began claiming that Chris posted a YouTube video threatening to kill himself, which prompted Bob to run as fast as he could to where Chris was at, which was in the kitchen where the computer was. You can imagine how traumatic of a situation this was for all parties involved. Honestly, I understand that a lot of things that happened in the late 2000s and early 2010s only happened because the internet was a wildly different place, but this crosses multiple lines. Trolling Chris by telling him you're the original creator of Sonichu is one thing, but having cyber sex with someone as mentally debilitated as him borders on unspeakable. Yeah. Besides, Blue Spike eventually said he was having phone sex with Chris pretty much every night.
No.
For what? What was the point in doing that exactly? And where were this kid's parents? How can you be motivated to do that at just 13 years old? And how could the other trolls be okay with this kid simultaneously subjecting himself and Chris to this hell?
No.
All of this is beyond unexplainable, and I doubt we'll ever get a good explanation.
That kid needs therapy, man. That kid needs Jesus and therapy.
Bob managed to spare himself from ever knowing the full extent of what was going on that night, as when he walked in, Chris instantly stopped what he was doing. Understandably, having his sleep disturbed, he was mad at Chris and delivered the line he's probably the most famous for, "Get away from the internet, I'm cutting it down right now," which earned him the nickname the Lumberjack. Days later, another audio of this same kind was leaked. All the while, Blue Spike continued to share his Skype conversations with Chris and everyone else. On the 20th of February, the results of another of Blue Spike's Julie antics became public. As some kind of private tantalizing display for her, Chris made love to his body pillow of Kimmy, filmed it, and emailed it to her. The video is 8 minutes long and it's available on YouTube in audio format, though I doubt that anyone would be interested in suffering through it. It was originally uploaded to an adult website where it received over 3 million views. That's no small feat, seeing as I have a hard time cracking that number myself. If only Chris had the mind to use his autistic superpowers for good. But the abject cruelty is not over yet. In order to cover up the obviously deliberate leaking of Chris's sex tape, Julie claimed that the leaker was her abusive older brother, Max. Immediately following this new development in the Julie canon, a new narrative was created. Max had kidnapped Julie and took her to the headquarters of the Miscreants, the name for the group of trolls that Blue Spike was a part of. What he was planning to do with her was not clear, but the conclusion was that in order to save her, Chris would have to drive to Cleveland, Ohio. This Herculean task was mostly discussed in his IRC chat with the trolls, though at this point the line was being blurred between trolls and people who interacted with Chris out of a genuine infatuation with him, even if coded in irony. While some people were all for pushing Chris to do this trip, whether because they thought it would amount to anything beyond an inconvenience for him, or that he wouldn't do it at all and just pretend he did, or other people were becoming a tad more hesitant about this particular mission. The drive to Ohio would be 7 hours long, as Chris had to drive 400 miles. This was a cause for concern since, as you might have noticed, Chris is severely autistic and not quite the street-smart survivalist. If he were to encounter some serious trouble along the way, he certainly would not be able to fend for himself like a normal person. Additionally, an interstate car trip on the highway is a very different beast than driving around your little hometown in your mom's car, which was the totality of Chris's driving experience according to Bob himself. Another person with
that is actually scary, thinking about Chris like doing a 400-mile journey there and back. Like, not just for Chris, but like for like the general public, man.
Whom Chris discussed the trip to Cleveland, Ohio, was the co-founder of Sonichu Girls, Sarah May. In this conversation, Chris says, "I've been planning my trip to go to Cleveland to meet and escort to Virginia, Julie. I have received much support in the trip, not only from my online fans, including yourself, but also from God, Jesus, and the spirits of my Aunt Corinna," as I touched her hand before they closed her casket. "Even these spirits from my past Weston family members who were buried at the same church, including my grandparents and my great great-grandparents. I'm using money I got on my birthday for the trip. I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I have a road map for Eastern USA, directions to Julie, and from MapQuest. I have set aside 6 changes of clothes, and I'm not informing my mother and father until the last minute with a note and photocopy of my printed directions and the portion of my road map with a marked path. Confidentially, I have about $45 in my bank, $16 in my wallet, my phone will be fully charged, and I have a freshly filled tank of gas. On the morning of the 26th of February, precisely at 5:30, which is the exact hour that Chris was born, he left his Ruckersville home to head for Ohio, ignoring his parents' concern that this was some kind of elaborate troll or to catch a predator sting operation. Upon waking up and finding the note he left behind, Bob and Barb notified the police and filed a missing persons report in fear that he would get himself killed on the trip. The ride to Ohio would be mostly uneventful, and when he was crossing state lines and passing a toll booth, Chris managed to lock himself out of his own car. Luckily, someone else at the toll booth had AAA and called on them to help Chris get back in his car. In a fateful coincidence, his other stop on his way to saving Julie was to get a hamburger at a restaurant called Sonic. Eventually, he made it to the random address given as Max and Julie's residence, but all he found was a beat-up old house where an old black lady lived, with no sign of his sweetheart or her abusive brother. Fortunately, this trip was harmless for Chris, and after calling his parents, he headed back to Ruckersville, getting home at about 3 in the morning.
I've got an image in my head of that old black lady talking some sense into him and finally being the one to breach that brick wall of a head that he's got.
How much trouble he got in with his parents, who threatened to leave him
But I'm an idealist, so
homeless if he ever did anything like that again, and despite the money he wasted and the fact he was tricked into going there, Chris himself eventually came to hold quite the positive outlook on it, saying he enjoyed the sights.
They can't make him homeless. That's surely just a threat. He can't live on the streets. I was homeless, man. It was hard enough for me, and I'm like, I know this is like cheesy and flipping sounds stupid. I'm a hard guy, yeah. I got street smarts and that, yeah. I used to be a drug dealer and like into all sorts of stuff, yeah. And I found being homeless hard. It was winter as well, but like people try and take advantage of you, man. And because you haven't got anywhere safe to go, like they can sort of like, you're just at the whim of like the homeless culture. And Chris would get absolutely abused if he was homeless, mate. He would get his shoes taken off of him. Trust me, people will take your shoes. I had someone take all my bedding out of my tent. Like, I was only gone for like half an hour. I come back, everything is stripped out of my tent. Like, Chris could not survive outside. He would die of exposure or something like that.
And how much trouble he got in with his parents, who threatened to leave him homeless if he ever did anything like that again, and despite the money he wasted and the fact he was tricked into going there, Chris himself eventually came to hold quite the positive outlook on it, saying he enjoyed the sights as he drove. After his safe return, he had one last conversation with Blue Spike, where he relayed his story of the trip, while Blue Spike struggled to believe he actually went to Ohio. The conversation shows that Chris continued to be in the dark about Julie being completely fake, even after the trip. Promptly, March began with his left foot. Someone from ED produced postcards with frames from Chris's tape with Kimmy and sent them to Bob, who took away Chris's ability to make videos, which is quite fair and should have been done a long time before it came to this. Just 2 days after this, another absolute tragedy happens, also due to malevolent deeds of Blue Spike. On the 3rd of March, Chris gets in a call with Julie, Max, Clyde, and a few other people. The circumstance now was that Max had control over Chris's PSN account, his Yahoo email, and the login information of Sonichu and Rosachu.com.
You just know he used the same password for all of those things. I guarantee you. I bet it didn't even have a symbol in it. It probably had 1, 2, 3 in it, and it was probably Sonichu 1, 2, 3, 4 or something stupid like that.
Threatening to sell his accounts on eBay and send Julie back to Europe, which is where she came from according to the lore, Max gets Chris to do his bidding. The particulars of this began mildly, having Chris declare Billy Mays, one of the other trolls, as the mayor of Quickville, and have himself imprisoned. However, things would go downhill in a way that every other troll didn't expect and weren't okay with. In the middle of this hour-long torture session, Max begins demanding that Chris either burn the Sonichu medallion or cut it up into pieces and introduce them into his butt. Throughout this entire ordeal, Blue Spike's psychopathic mean-spiritedness came off towards Chris as extremely off-putting, and the other trolls would intervene, telling him to stop what he was doing as it went way past any line imaginable.
How the hell has this 13-year-old got such evilness inside of him? What the hell? when I was 13, I was an idiot, mate. Like, I couldn't have orchestrated like Machiavellian trollishness like this. I have no idea, man. Like, what is it like? Is it because like kids have grown up with the internet since they were like I don't know. Like, that is just next level. Like, is he actually 13? Like, sounds mad.
Blue Spike would follow it up with telling Chris to burn his house down, which Chris immediately resisted against, and the other people in the call once again intervened. After all of that, Julie finally made an appearance, only to start telling Chris that she had something to tell him. Chris went along with it, only for Blue Spike to finally make the long overdue reveal, stating that all of this time, Chris had been having phone sex with a 13-year-old boy. Chris reluctantly absorbed the information, while the now fully revealed Blue Spike accused him of being a pedophile, and that Chris Hansen would have him arrested. When Blue was about to start up another narrative about how Julie died in a wildfire, like many of Chris's other faux girlfriends, Clyde decides that enough is enough and chimes in an attempt to get Chris to understand what had just happened. He says, "Now you're going crazy, okay? We don't have to do the whole wildfire thing. Shut the hell up. Look, Chris, there are more things to life than your PS3 and whatever. Your whole internet life has been a lie. There are no Sonichu fans. Nobody gives two shits about you. The best thing you could do is go outside for the love of God, okay? Shut up, Blue Spike. He's been fooled so many times." What is this, the 9th time so far? You know how many people have told you this, that Blue Spike is a boy? I can't believe how many times. And you still believed. There are very few moments in Christery as grueling as this one. Thankfully, it seems Clyde's message got back to Chris, even
It's confirmation bias, man. He's that desperate. He just, yeah.
time so far. You know how many people have told you this, that
Deluded.
Blue Spike is a boy? I can't believe how many times. And you still believed. There are very few moments in Christery as grueling as this one. Thankfully, it seems Clyde's message got back to Chris, even if just a little bit. After being ill for a little while and asking for his fans to attack Blue Spike, Chris takes up contact with another girl named Emily, and on the 19th of March, he's chaperoned by his father for a date with Emily at the mall. Sure, she was also a troll who orchestrated the whole thing and planned ahead to wear a wire during the date to record it, but at least this time it would be in real life. The video of this incident is scant and Emily's face is obscured. However, we have the audio of the entire thing. From it, we learn that the whole thing lasted for a little over an hour, and that though the date was Chris's, it got completely hijacked by Bob, who began talking to Emily way more than Chris did. The date ends when a man dressed up in a pickle costume arrives at their table and invites Emily
Was Chris chaperoned to a date by his dad? What the hell?
over an hour, and had to wear a wire during the date to record it, but at least this time it would be in real life. The video of this incident is scant and Emily's face is obscured. However,
that's not smooth bringing your dad.
we have the audio of the entire thing. From it, we learn that the whole thing lasted for a little over an hour, and that though the date was Chris's, it got completely hijacked by Bob, who began talking to Emily way more than Chris did. The date ends when a man dressed up in a pickle costume arrives at their table and invites Emily to go to the Watchmen movie, which greatly disturbs and upsets Chris. While Bob
no. Okay, look, I feel so bad for laughing at a lot of this. It's just so ridiculous, man.
mostly just confused about the situation. After the date, he calls her up, but not before he receives hookers at his door, ordered by Clyde Cash. Later on in March, Chris uploads himself giving a tour of his house, as well as a video of him singing a song wherein he declares his love for farting. Chris also mentions Megan, but only to ask for trolls to stop bothering her. After the end of the Julie arc, Chris moves towards another potential sweetheart by the name of Ivy. He also pledges to leave YouTube forever, though just a week later he returns, announcing his new website. Shortly after this, he makes another video greeting Ivy, which is paired with yet another video, this time of him kissing Kimmy, this stall with an image of Ivy taped to her face. The first half of April is more or less calm, with Chris uploading a few funny videos, such as this one where he pretends to be some kind of Irish Easter bunny.
I thought he was pretending to be Asian for a minute. Nope, still racist.
By the 16th, the miscreants leak 3 videos pretending to be girls. One where he's drinking his own semen mixed with Fanta, one where he's spanking his own naked ass, and lastly, one where he's dancing around naked in his filthy shower stall. While absolutely depressing, Chris takes these in stride, as just a day later, he uploads another video kissing Ivy's face on Kimmy. It's also in the month of April that the long-forgotten Christian and the Hedgehog Boy
I genuinely feel like crying. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm an emotional guy, and this is just flipping next level.
drop a comeback album. Other than that, we have a potential marriage proposal for Ivy, and a couple of other leaked videos of Chris displaying his raw strength to attract possible mates.
I have the power!
You will now be watching the strong man lifting a very heavy office chair. Note, the chair weighs a grand number of pounds.
Dude, don't lift with your back. Oh no, that hurt my back. Oh, look at that technique, dude. He shouldn't have a driving license.
A very heavy office chair. Note, the chair weighs a grand number of pounds.
I just knew he weren't going to lift up properly. Like, I just flipping knew it. Oh, look at that. No, mate.
Now we will be seeing the strongman lifting the same chair, but with a very heavy basket.
No, don't do it.
Junk in the chair. I want you a man for Nantucket.
As well as a video of him sprinting naked in his room, which I can't show you, but you can imagine how graceful it is. One of this month's highlights is a comic Chris drew for Ivy of himself about to begin intercourse with his giant ding-dong. Of course, these instances of trolling are much more lighthearted than what preceded them. When informed that a little girl called, bear with me here, their words not mine, Ching Chong stumbled across the videos leaked of him doing those egregious things, Chris felt compelled to explain himself, and so he did. In the couple of videos he posted, he says the things he did were normal and good, and Ivy, the person whom he admits was the reason at least one of the videos was made, is definitely a real girl and not a troll, and that they soon will meet up in real life and have sex, and it will be awesome. One of the videos got linked to the website Fark, where it got over 200,000 views. This landed him in the public eye of mainstream media. A few of his videos were being featured on a Boston radio station, while his admission to drinking his own semen was being discussed on an LA radio station. Chris Chan's fame had gone nationwide, but he had no idea, as while this was happening, he was too busy drawing a comic of himself marrying Ivy, as well as a few of himself, as Sonic, having explicit sex with a Sonic furry version of Ivy. He also attempts to put his autobiographical article on Wikipedia, but it gets taken down and he subsequently protests. By the 15th, his relationship with Ivy quietly ends as he takes down all of the videos mentioning her, and Clyde announces that they broke up.
Let me just look at this meme quickly. Same dirty smelly shirt, creepy behavior, got banned from gameplays. Makes terrible fan think the magic character's real. Yeah, pretty much. What's this next? Mantis, Buddha belly.
Later on, Clyde goes into detail about what caused the breakup. It was
just look at that.
revealed during this time that Chris had gone to the police because of Josh and with Rocky. As previously stated, Chris kept mentioning going to the police, but I didn't think he'd actually do so, as that would entail explaining things to his parents. Also, Bob and Barb have always been extremely afraid of the authorities. Bob hid the vast majority of troll material from Barb. The breaking point for Bob and Barb had been Josh. He had sold Chris a PSP with a non-existent feature for a higher price than a normal PSP. While Josh was scamming Chris scammed Josh back by giving him a bad check. Bob and Barb ended up agreeing to go to the police with Rocky to catch Josh and only Josh. They agreed only to discuss matters regarding Josh, as they were handling Clyde and the other trolls on their own terms.
Whoa.
Taking advantage of the situation, Rocky blindsided Bob and Barb at the station by monopolizing and domineering the police's help. She pushed for the authorities to investigate all the trolls, and Ivy as well. Despite his parents' protests, Rocky went against their wishes and ignored their harbored anxiety. Needless to say, I was pretty pissed. While Bob and Barb and Josh continued their feud over a PSP, I broke up with Chris over his betrayal. Fun fact, this Josh character happens to be one of Chris's oldest acquaintances, having attended the same speech therapy classes as him during their childhood. While this was going on, Quickieville.com, Chris's site at the time, got hacked, and messages attacking Chris began being displayed on it. 4 days later, the site went down, and the revelation that Ivy 2 was a troll prompted Chris to upload a video to his YouTube channel saying that, from now on, he would only be taking real-life encounters with women into consideration when it came to finding a sweetheart. Too little, too late. A few days later, his drinking confession finds its way to the, at the time, infamous Opie and Anthony show, which was nationally syndicated and one of the largest comedy shows in the US. It's unsure if Chris ever found out that this happened, but if he did, it certainly contributed to the delusions of grandeur he was already harboring. At the tail end of May, Chris tries to engage in his love quest on Craigslist, but his ad gets taken down for racism. In June, his YouTube account gets hacked, and the hackers re-upload the video where he admits to being gay, which he was coerced in the first place into making by Clyde. When Chris gets a hold of his account, he immediately deletes it and favorites multiple Britney Spears videos to prove how straight he is. Later on in the month, he uploads a song called Don't Trust Any Homos Over There, a spoof of a similarly named song from the Boondocks.
No.
Hello, my name is Uncle Ruckus. No relation. I'm gonna sing y'all a song I just made up.
He's definitely in the closet for sure.
It's called Don't Trust Any Homos Over There. Sing along if you know the words. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Don't trust any homos over there, leaving their homo stank in the air. Them sappy, flappy, dumb homos with their finger on the trigger. Don't trust any homos over there.
Once again, in his attempt...
I'm not gonna lie, it was slightly better than I was expecting it to be. Not the content, like his singing voice, I mean.
Flappy, flappy, dumb.
He sings better than he speaks. No wonder, like I don't know if you saw, like if you see in one of my earlier videos, he tries to communicate with people by singing, and like I think that's his best bet, to be honest.
Homos with their finger on the trigger. Don't trust any homos over there.
I'm glad he didn't drop the gamer word with like after trigger, to be honest. I'm just happy for that.
Once again, in his attempt to attack gay people, he throws some racism in for good measure. Also,
no.
He appears not to know how to upload a video not recorded from his camera and is manually holding up a sign that says this video is audio only. Besides this, the month is pretty scarce of any salacious occurrences other than Chris drinking his first ever alcoholic beverage, and a pretty strong one at that. Meanwhile, possibly one of, if not the best Chris trolls makes his debut in the latter half of June. C-Chan Sonichu CWC, better known as Liquid Chris. Despite sharing essentially no similarity with Chris Chan besides his last name, Liquid Chris decided to make the account to claim that he was the real CWC. In early July, he uploaded a video formally denouncing the original Chris Chan, whom we'll be calling Solid Chris whenever both him and Liquid are being...
He made his own Sonichu medallion. Anyway, I'm gonna have to shoot off now, guys. It's been good. You've been locked into Nuclear Reaction Faction. Subscribe for more. Check out my other content, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.